Yes,
Yes,
the
the
haymaker.
haymaker.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, my good man. I can hear you. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you? Chilling in the hotel?
Chilling in the hotel. I've been downstairs since. I've been downstairs since I was let out of my room. I went downstairs. We're next door to the SSE arena in Wembley, and I've been doing media all day long. I stopped a couple of times to eat some food, but I've literally just got back to my room since I've been let out. I think it's about 11, 12 o'clock today. I was let out, so the full day of graft. Good full day of
So
promoting.
you've been, so have you been in like a bit of a bubble lockdown? Did you have to quarantine for so many hours in your hotel room when
Yeah,
you got there?
yeah. Yesterday I got here. I think it was 11 o'clock. I got
Hmm.
about 11 o'clock, and they had to do a COVID test, and then we had to stay inside our room until the results of that came in. And it normally takes roughly around 24 hours. Mine was like 22 hours or so. But
Yeah.
Derek, the donut decided to do his own COVID test. So there's a woman, a nurse, a doctor, or whatever she was, a practitioner of some description. She was
Hmm.
supposed to do the test with a swab up the nose, but he decided, no, I'll do that, put up his nose. But because he wasn't a doctor or a nurse, technically the
It didn't
result of
count.
that, it doesn't count. So he then posted that, and someone saw it and said, "Oh, he's supposed to be doing his own test." So then he had to do another test, which means he had to stay in his hotel room for another like 4 or 5 hours
Oh, what a
until the
nightmare.
new
So
test. Exactly.
the person that was doing the test, why did they let him take his own sample? It begs the question. You know what I mean?
Well, if you was doing the sample and Derek Chisora said, "No, give it here, I'm doing it," what are you going to do, really?
Well, that's a bad example asking me in it because I fear no man. but I know, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I'm sure you'd have just said, "Okay, Derek, do it yourself."
So anyway,
We
we're
got
gonna
a
have a
fight.
talk about
We got a fight.
the fight. Usyk
We got
Chisora. We have to talk about it. We have to mention Usyk's names first. He's the bill. You know, he's the guy that everyone's expecting to win. And I'd just like to correct you from yesterday because you said that I said that Derek
Slim. You
Chisora
said
has.
Slim and none, and Slim's just left town. Are you going to try and retract that
Listen,
statement?
listen. I'm
Because
not even retract.
it was
There's
on. It
nothing
was
to
on.
retract. There's nothing to even retract because the statement was never made.
Oh,
It
so
was a
you
long.
so do you think that Derek actually does have a chance? Are you changing your
Of,
mind now?
listen, you'd have to be stupid to think that somebody who punches like Derek Chisora, who we've seen him time and time again. I mean, the Carlos Takam knockout, just for one example
That was a
of,
hell of a
of
fight. That was a hell of a fight.
and it was under pressure as well for many moments in
He
that
was
fight,
taking some serious stick in that fight.
taking more punishment than what I took in a few of my fights, sitting on the ropes in the corner, taking heavy shots. I never used to. People said that I took a lot of shots,
No,
but I didn't sit there like Chisora.
you
He
look
was
like
riding
Pernell
them, he
Whitaker.
was soaking them up.
You look like Pernell Whitaker compared to what he looked at, what he looked in that
No,
fight.
I won't go that far. I won't go that far. But yeah, I know what you're saying. But yeah, and he turned it around and he got the knockout, and we've seen
What
it. We've
one
seen it with
shot,
him.
what one overhand right, and that was
Yeah,
when he was
exactly.
completely exhausted from getting battered. How about when he's in tip-top condition? How about when he's conditioned his body, conditioned his mind to focus on throwing specific sequences of punches that Usyk doesn't like?
Right, listen. So you're telling me
Yeah.
that the training's gone superb, which obviously you're not going to say it's not, but you could be honest
I
and
know
say that you
his
could.
last three, the last three training camps I've done with
Yeah,
Derek Chisora was the Dylan White 2 rematch.
yeah,
I was very unhappy with it, but because the first fight went as well as it did do, I actually had Derek possibly. It was a very close fight. I had Derek for
yeah.
nicking it by a round.
Right,
Then he
okay.
had, but he lost that fight. So, so off the strength of him losing that fight and such a close fight,
Mm.
I thought, going by what his existing training team was telling me about his fitness going into the second fight, that's what gave me the confidence that he would win, and he was winning up until the point he got knocked out in the 11th round. So I was unhappy with a lot of the way he did his training, his mindset, the fact he took way too many days off, the fact that he wasn't really pushing himself to the limit in every training session. He was cutting his sparring short. He wasn't really sparring the right people, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know what you're
But
saying.
since that point, he's taken on board a lot more of what I've requested. Taking on board the training philosophies of, pushing his heart rate a lot higher than he has done in the past. Not being a plodding heavyweight, training like you're a middleweight, throwing clusters of punches, not one or two big shots. We're talking clusters of no less than 4.
He's known for being quite fit. He's fit for 12 rounds anyway. We've seen that time and time again.
No. Here's the thing that maybe the experts aren't aware of. Derek, you're right. You've seen him time and time again do 12 rounders. Does that mean you're 12 round fit to fight for 3 minutes of those 12 rounds? Just because someone does, you could
no. Of course not.
You could do a 12 round fight today if you pace yourself correctly. You've got enough boxing know-how to get through 12 rounds and lose on points against probably anyone in the world right now.
Yeah.
But for you to be the type of fitness that you need to win these toe-to-toe exchanges, you know what it takes, how hard you've got to push yourself. And there have been times in the past where you haven't quite. You've been fit for the first fight with George Groves. You was fit for 12 rounds. No, you wasn't. You didn't. You wasn't. You could do 12 rounds, but you didn't have that engine to keep.
I was fit for the dancing I was doing on that dance show. I was quite good at the rumba and the cha-cha-cha, and that distracted me from my training for quite a bit. But I've seen Chisora. I've seen him go 12 rounds. I've seen him finish strong in fights.
How about him now being...
The first fight with Dillian White was close, and that was a tough 12-rounder.
And if you thought he had 12 rounds of action in then, how about when he's done 3 times as much sparring, got hit a 10th of the amount in his head through training camp, he's done 3 times as many conditioning sessions, and he's really, really pushing his lungs in every session where he didn't do before. You saw Derek Chisora fighting on an empty tank, and that's still impressive. How about when he's fully loaded? It makes
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he could do now. Is you're saying he's like super fit, fitter than he's ever been, the best he's ever been. But with respect, David, you could sell snow to the Eskimos. Let's be honest.
I've been told today I could sell a doormat to a homeless man is what I was told today.
Right, okay. So, and I'm not going to discredit that in any way because you know your stuff, you know what you've seen, and you've got inside. Right, tell me about Alexis Dimitriadis, if that's pronounced correctly.
Yeah,
you used him. Let me just stop you. Did you have him in your training? Just for the people that didn't know, he trained you for your fight against Chisora.
Yes, he was.
And you was working on some different. You was working on some different bits. Exactly. Tell me about that.
When I was training to fight Derek Chisora in 2012. I was fully aware that Derek is stronger than me. Fact, he can deadlift more than me, he can squat more than me, he can bench press more than me. He's just a bigger, stronger animal than me. So I didn't want that to be the case. I remember watching the way Evander Holyfield dealt with Mike Tyson. And what he did was, anytime they got into a clinch, for whatever reason, Holyfield was able to walk Tyson back, put him on his heels and walk him back to the ropes. Psychologically, that got into Mike Tyson's head and allowed him to believe Holyfield was stronger than him. And he was the guy coming up from cruiserweight. So theoretically, Tyson was probably expecting Holyfield to try and box around him, but he didn't. He took it to him. So I thought, how can I do that? Alexis and all of the guys, Marius, his brother, and all the guys down at London Shoot Fighters, they come from a wrestling background, an MMA background. So there's a lot of clinch work, a lot of pummeling involved. So I got these guys involved to assist me in learning how the foot positioning, how to, get your underhooks in and use it to your advantage, punching whilst in the clinch. There's so many different elements that I was unaware of that they made me aware of. And it allowed me to seriously take control of the fight with Derek Chisora, who was stronger than me. And if you rewatch that fight, anytime he came into a clinch, I pushed him back. Psychologically, it made Derek believe that I was stronger than I actually was, which then allowed me to have that gap and have that room to land my longer range punches. So
yeah, I get that.
I brought him in for that. It was very good, useful. He's also assisted me over the years with my sparring. I used to send him videos of my sparring if he wasn't there. And I remember you always coming back with good feedback about footwork, about tactical side of things. These guys they're fighting guys. They're not come from a boxing background. They come from a fighting combat background. They train.
So physically, okay. So physically, they're going to get Derek Chisora a bit more physically in terms of grappling and up close. But Chisora's already bigger and stronger and heavier than Usyk. So in that department, he's already got them advantages.
No, he was, but he never used to use it. He was unaware. He never used to use his strength in fights. He didn't know how to. What he used to do is allow people to walk him back. And if you watch when he gets into clinches with people, he was getting pushed back. I was able to push him back.
He was pushed him back in your fight, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know how. He was unaware of how to use that strength. He was strong, but he didn't know how to use it. These guys have allowed him to develop a boxing technique and style to maximize his punching output, to make sure when he punches, his head's coming off the line, that he's not up in the air, getting ready to get caught with the counter attacks. He has been getting counter attacks in the past. So these guys, because they don't have a boxing background, you can't really check out their boxing credentials. But I've used their boxing credentials, and this will be the first time Alexis has been in a corner of a boxing match. But he understands boxing, he understands fighters, he understands rhythm and pace and how to structure.
Right. Okay. So I've got all that. I understand it. Alexis, he knows his stuff. He's adding to Chisora's game. He's going to add to the. It sounds to me like it's going to be a bit of weight distribution, a little bit of grappling up close. He's going to be able to maneuver Usyk around the ring and make him tired rather than use too much of his own energy, sort of position him around the ring himself. So that's going to be an advantage. But Alexander Usyk, he's won everything as an amateur. 100%. He's undisputed king as a cruiserweight. He's now this is his second fight. I mean, Chaz Witherspoon, that win. Does that count as a big win as heavyweight? In many people's eyes, probably not. No, but he's gone up. He's come up to heavyweight. He's dipped his toe in the water with Witherspoon. He's won that fight. And now he's in against somebody who we know is a fully fledged heavyweight who can go in with the best of them. You know, he comes up short. He's had a split decision loss against Dillian White. He's been beat by Vitaly Klitschko. You know, there's been a Pulev. There's been a couple of losses in there where you think. I mean, the Pulev fight was close. It was close, but yeah, that was a bad loss in Monaco. Actually, I was there commentating for that. But Chisora was not interested at all. Kind of a bit of a bad attitude. I actually had a word with Derek Chisora after that fight. He came over and looked at the scorecards. Me, Adam Smith, and Darren Barker was scoring, and my scorecard had Chisora probably winning 1 or 2 rounds. And Derek was like, "Whose scorecard's that there?" And I said, "Yeah, that's Darren Barker's scorecard." But it was actually my scorecard. So I just didn't want the argument. So I did say to him, "Listen, you got beat."
You would have been the person letting him do his own swab. Here you go. That's that.
Yeah, exactly. So I let him think my scorecard was Darren's, just for the sake of any altercations, if you like. But I spoke to Chisora, I spoke to Derek, and I said to him, "Look, mate, you're a big, strong heavyweight. You've got ability. You're going to end up wasting an opportunity. If you don't think you can go in there and beat these top boys, if you don't think you belong in the mix with the likes of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, you know the big boys in the division, you can at least think to yourself, I've got a shot at these guys. I can challenge these guys and maybe I could do something. The least you're going to do is earn a lot of money and give a lot of boxing fans some great fights." And I think from that conversation I had with him, that quick 5-minute conversation after that fight he lost in Monaco, I do feel like he got a little bit inside his head and thought, you know what, Froch is right here. I listened to Froch. He's a world champ, retired world champ. I'll take that advice. And then obviously he's linked up with you. Now, it interests me how, you gate crashed the Klitschko press conference, post-fight press conference after Chisora's loss to Klitschko. And you punched him in the face, basically. Or was it a left elbow? Whatever it was, you two ended up having a scrap. And I can't understand. A tripod got picked up at some stage as well, a camera tripod. That ended up round Adam Booth's head somehow. Did you mean to put that round Adam Booth's head?
No, it was an accident. That
was an accident, okay. But how do you, what my question is, how do you get from there to then fighting him, probably, what was it, 6 months later? A year, probably 6 months later, and knocking him out in the fight, to then working with him? How does that conversation go? Was it immediately after the fight when the respect, the needle was lost and the respect was there from both of you? Was it then, after you fought Chisora, that you two started to get along?
No, it wasn't. It didn't work out quite like that. After the fight, it kind of squared things off. I think he felt during that press conference he got sucker punched. Some may say I did. You know, it's what I refer to as a preemptive strike. As
Yeah,
Americans,
that's what we learn on the street. But
yes,
he didn't like that shot, did he?
regardless,
He
it
took it
happened.
well, though, to be honest.
He did that. I did actually think to myself, if I ever do fight him, he's going to be a handful. He's going to take more than a flicky jab to keep him off me,
Yeah,
more than a
yeah.
feint and a flicky jab, which it
So,
was.
definitely
But
hard work on the cobbles,
yeah,
definitely.
no,
But it's not going to come to that. You two now get
no.
on. So following on from your fight, you had a good conversation. You're now working together, and
But there was a big
you're
gap. There was like a 6 year gap between that.
right.
There
Okay.
was a 6 year gap between our fight and when he hit me up and said, "I need to have a meeting with you. I need to speak to you." Spoke to him. He said, "I want you to be my manager."
Right. Okay. So he came to you and
Okay.
asked you to
Yeah,
manage him. So
yeah,
that was him looking for some guidance then
yeah. That,
in the business side of boxing, but also the training setup because he
yeah.
kind of always wings it, doesn't he? In the training,
He
he's got no
does,
real
yeah.
structure. Now he's got
So
structure, and we've seen it. We've seen his improvements. We've seen him. You know, you look at his last three fights. You know, Gashi, Spilka, and David Price.
yeah,
You know that's three good wins, three positives, two of them knockouts, and you know, when you're on that kind of momentum and you're on that winning streak, it builds confidence.
yeah.
We know he's jumping in with Usyk now. We know what you know. I think it's probably 85% of people that I speak to just in that Usyk's going to outbox him
Yeah,
and maybe stop him late. And I can kind of see myself.
I understand that.
I
I
could see
understand the
myself a late
consistency of that.
stoppage for Usyk. I'm not saying it's going to be a late stop, but I can
Yeah,
see that. I can see Usyk just
yeah.
I
Not quite
watched
looking at the
Alexander
level.
Usyk yesterday against Joe Joyce on the WSB, which
Yeah,
is, for people who don't know, it's kind of a bridge between amateur boxing and professional boxing. It's 5 3-minute rounds, no head guards, no vests. And I've never seen anybody deal with Joe Joyce in that manner, the way Usyk
mm,
did. Usyk was kind of, he wasn't playing with him, that would be disrespectful to Joyce, but Joyce landed very little. He looked to be shook up a couple of times. I never see Joe Joyce, the juggernaut. He just marches forward with his cumbersome looking shots, but he's really, really effective and he gets to
yeah.
everyone. I've seen him sparring Anthony Joshua on numerous occasions up at the England squad at the IS in Sheffield. And, you know, I watched that yesterday and I just thought to myself,
Bit
he's
special, this
not,
kid.
yeah, he's not a small cruiserweight and
And
now
that
he's
was a
in the
long time
heavyweight
ago.
division.
That was a long
Yeah,
time ago as well.
yeah, it was a long time ago. Of course it
Yeah,
was.
so he's improved immensely since that point.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we've discussed what you think. I'm not saying what I think. I know for a fact that Derek Chisora, if he catches anybody on the chin, including Alexander Usyk, he can knock him out.
How about on the top of the head?
How do you mean? If he catches Usyk on the top of the head?
He caught Carlos Takam on the top of the head.
Yeah, well, he hit him and he got up at the count, and then the finish was I think Takam really. I mean, there was an argument that fight could have been stopped, but it had to go on,
Yeah,
and then he swallowed a right hand. Was that the top of the head? That second right
yeah.
hand?
I think there's a couple of top of the head shots. Derek Chisora doesn't have that pinpoint accuracy. He wings shots wide, but
Mm,
those swipes are hard. The body
yeah.
shots are heavy. We've been getting 5 or 6 sparring partners per sparring session, two in, just complete. Each person does 2 rounds, and they're getting a 1,000-pound bonus if they can knock him down. So these are live rounds. These guys are really coming at him, and he's got to have to win the rounds. Unlike the old days where he just does 8 rounds of sparring, gets bashed up against the ropes. None of that. He's actually got to move his head, punch and move, and he's doing things consistently for the last 6 months now. For me, that will really make a difference in this fight. I really see Usyk being put in his uncomfort zone. Derek will be hit with shots he doesn't know exist. Usyk is that guy, the southpaw. He can step round you. You can bring the shots up, bring them round. But Derek Chisora doesn't have a traditional style. He does his cross-arm defense, which isn't something you see in the amateurs. So Usyk
Yeah.
hasn't had to deal with anybody of that type of style yet. All of the people Usyk have fought have been international amateurs themselves, world champions, amateurs, Brados, the Gasayev, all the Olympic-style fighters moved into the professional game at the same time. And there's not much in it between them. But Derek Chisora just has a very, very different style that's very difficult to read. And all of the sparring partners came into camp believing Derek Chisora was going to get battered. They said, every single one of them said, yeah, when we heard the fight, we're coming in to help, but we thought, you know, Derek probably can't deal with me. Every single one of them, at the end of the spar, pulled him to the side and said, oh, what do you think? They all said, I didn't know Derek could close the range like that. I didn't know he could.
Oh.
I didn't know he's never done it in any fights. if he can replicate what he's been doing in sparring in this fight, and there's no reason he shouldn't, we've got ourselves a very, very interesting fight where Usyk may have to go soul searching. Usyk may not be able to just keep it on the outside and outbox. He may force Usyk to have to go toe to toe to start winning the rounds. We saw Papachenko's son, Lomachenko, have to really dig in them late rounds, and it was against a guy who was naturally bigger than himself, Lopez. And we saw the pound for pound kingpin not able to deal with the size factor. This, I believe, is a similar type of deal. Obviously, Derek isn't young, but the size factor, he's going to be 20 kilograms bigger than him. That's a lot of weight in boxing. They have weight categories for a reason. 20 kilos of a prime Derek Chisora willing to hit elbows, hips, back of head, neck, he'll hit you in the throat. Anytime Usyk wants to clinch, he's going to be in trouble. So I'm telling you,
without a doubt,
exciting.
Without a doubt, this is the first time that Usyk is going to be in the ring with a proper heavyweight who's got experience. He's got abundance of experience at top level as well. And, you know, I think it'd be stupid to think that Chisora is not going to put Usyk in some kind of pressure or some kind of sticky points or put him in some position where he's not being in amateur or professional. He's going to have his back against the ropes. He's going to be pushed around and manhandled at times. And that's the interesting bit for me. How does Usyk cope under pressure when he's being leaned on and punched around the side of the head and around the back of the ribs and, you know, sort of manhandled and mauled around the ring? Because he's got so much weight and size advantage, Chisora. Well, not so much height, but the weight, the bulkiness of the weight, and that physical strength. Yeah, so, you know, Usyk's going to be definitely in a position he's probably never been in his career. And that's what excites me with this fight. Seeing how Usyk responds to that and seeing how he deals with the pressure of a proper heavyweight fighter like Chisora, who isn't coming here he's not coming here to lose or roll over. He's coming here with ambition, and he's coming here with, you know, with his head, one eye on the future and potentially what's ahead for him, because this gives him a ranking, this gives him a mandatory position for Anthony Joshua. Is it the WBO is to be mandatory
WBO,
for?
yeah, exactly.
So if he knows he's got that as a dangling carrot for him as well, there's no reason for Derek Chisora to leave anything in the changing rooms or to leave anything in the gym. He just leave every single ounce of what he's got in the ring, and that's what excites me about this fight. Regardless of how you think the result's going to go, this cannot be a one-sided performance or a one-sided whooping from Alexander Usyk. It just wouldn't seem right. It wouldn't be fair to suggest that. But Usyk is that good. You can see why people are dismissing Chisora, but they need to think about the size, the weight, the attitude, the change in training with Chisora, and, you know, just take all that into account when they're placing their bets or they're opening their mouth with their opinions. Like I said, I share the opinion of many people who think that Usyk's probably got too much skill and too much natural ability and too much class. But this isn't amateur boxing. This is professional boxing. And it can get very dirty and very hurtful in there at times of amateur boxing. The referees let things go. They let low blows go. They let kidney punches go. They let back of the head slaps go and leaning and elbows in the face. You know, all these things can play a massive factor in this weight division. So I'm excited. I'm not writing off Alexander Usyk by no stretch of the imagination. Not Usyk, not Chisora. I'm not writing off Chisora. He's definitely in for a chance. I've got to say Usyk's my favourite for the win. It has to be, as far as I'm concerned. You know, opinions are split down. No, not split 50-50. They're split 85-15, I think, in Usyk's favour. But that's kind of irrelevant for Derek Chisora, and that's irrelevant for Team Chisora, which is you, because you've obviously got your beliefs.
Yeah.
So
I saw a betting company today giving 80-1 odds on Derek Chisora to win the fight.
Yeah, to me that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
I'm saying that's how confident the world is that Derek Chisora is going to lose this fight. 80-1. Yeah. It's crazy. If you've seen what I've seen in training with these sparring partners, fresh sparring partners. For instance, we brought in Sana Gachi, the guy that he wasn't able to stop and went 10 rounds with. Gachi, 2 rounds is all it was taking. 2 rounds. It was, you know, he significantly improved. And with 10-ounce gloves on, we got ourselves a hell of a fight. Derek Chisora said in an interview earlier, he understands he's going to have to eat some leather. He said, "You really think I'm going to get through this fight and not eat some leather?" He said, every single fight I've ever had, I've had to eat some leather. But I'm willing to eat. I've learned to love the taste of leather. But how does Usyk like the taste of leather? Hasn't really had to take much in his lifetime. How about when I give him more than he's ever had to deal with?
Yeah,
The biggest
yeah,
piece
very
of leather
interesting.
he's ever had. Very interesting. Someone who hasn't had to go to the well. If there was a waterboarding competition, who could be waterboarded the longest? Who can suffer the longest? I keep saying it. Who could drown the longest out of him and Usyk? This Derek Chisora has had so many blood and guts fights because he's just not been in condition. He's been fighting with an empty tank his whole career. We've now filled it up. He's got so much more defense, so much more offense. His footwork's better. He's doing all of the things that he was never been able to do. He doesn't need to take a minute and a half on the ropes to regather himself whilst taking punches like he did against Dylan White, like he did against Carlos Takam. He's finally in a position where he can fight for 3 minutes of a 12-round contest, and it's very, very, very exciting. And I know you're going to be on the edge of your seat from the very first bell. It's an intriguing fight, very, very intriguing fight where the experts have it one way. You're an expert. I'm an expert. I'm sure if I weren't working with Derek Chisora, I'd see it exactly as you see it. I thought, when I thought at one stage, Derek Chisora was completely washed up and finished. I really thought his days was gone. I'm talking a couple, 2-3 years back. I thought it was all done for him. After the Caballo fight in Monaco, I thought, Derek Chisora, he's got nothing. But the fact that he put his pride to one side, and the fact that he came to me and put his career in my hands, I felt very, very responsible to make sure I give him all that he needs to do the very best in his career. You only have one career in life. You and myself have been very, very fortunate that we were switched on. We had a good infrastructure, a good team. Your nutrition was on point. Your heart rate. Am I right or wrong? Do you have notes on your training sessions from years ago? You've probably
I've got like 13 diaries on 13 years of training sessions, all documented.
Derek doesn't have one note of any session he's ever done up until he started working for me. Now we've got.
It's not the same for everyone. Not everybody likes that, but it's definitely a benefit to keep. Yeah, it's worth. Yeah, keeping notes, 100%.
Someone professional logs everything, because if something goes great, you need to see why. And if something goes bad, you need to review it. Maybe next time, take out these sessions, add these sessions. If you got done with body shots, let's add in some core. Let's see what core work we were doing. Let's see how many ab sessions we were doing. Let's up that. That's professionalism. Derek Chisora has been constantly adapting with me over the last 2 years, working with different coaches, fine-tuning, from his physiotherapist to his nutritionist to his osteopath. He's had Ruben Tabarez measuring every single potential, from his stretching to his strength. Everything's monitored. Everything's on a progression to this Saturday night.
No, I'm going to kick in. I'm going to kick in, because if I don't kick in, are you there? Is your battery gone dead? No, you're still there.
No, man, I'm still here.
If I don't step in, I'm never going to give the fans that are writing in the comments and the people that have wrote in beforehand a chance to play part in this Insta Live. So I need to take over and put a sock in it just for 1 minute, David. Hope you don't mind. With the best respect, I mean, you can talk, and you talk well. Listen, I love listening to you. I can sit here and listen to you for hours. Whether I agree with all of it or not is fascinating. But right, I'm going to start looking through the comments. I've had some people send in some comments. I might need to move a little bit, actually, because the lighting in here is quite bad.
You look good to me, baby.
Let me just go over here a minute. Let me get some light on here. Right, then. Does a prime David Haye beat Usyk?
I think so.
You think so? Well, I mean, you're gonna back yourself anyway, aren't you? Let's be honest.
The only
That's from Charlie Merson. Charlie Merson, by the way, asked that one.
Okay, Charlie Merson. I think the only cruiserweight I would be really, really, really worried about is Evander Holyfield, because Evander Holyfield is made from different stuff. He's the real deal for a reason. That guy.
Well, Evander Holyfield is arguably the best cruiserweight transitioning to a heavyweight of all time because of what he achieved.
I think he's the best cruiserweight of all time. Of all time.
Just the best cruiserweight. You
straight up best cruiserweight of all time. I think he's significantly better than me. I think.
What about Usyk though? Usyk, you know, he's a pretty good cruiserweight. He's definitely up there, Usyk, and you was up there as well. The undisputed, former undisputed heavyweight, sorry, cruiserweight, stepping up to heavyweight. I mean, don't downplay yourself in that sense
No,
because
I'm
you
not
know.
downplaying myself. I'm saying I've always been a massive fan of, you know, it was 30 years a week ago where Evander Holyfield went up to heavyweight and fought Buster Douglas after Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson and knocked him out with one punch. For me, that's the best cruiserweight ever. The one who can go up and beat a big man, not just any big man, a big man who's just beaten Mike Tyson, knocks him out.
And the fights with Riddick Bowe, Riddick Bowe as well.
Riddick Bowe, even the length to his fight. Oh, listen, he's had some absolute wars. The fights with Tyson, Mike Tyson. He's an absolute living legend. And,
I'm going to 100% totally agree with you. Evander Holyfield. He had a bit longer though. He had a longer time to develop into the heavyweights actually, because he kind of vanished for a bit, and then when he came into the heavyweights, he was a bit younger than Usyk. Usyk's 33 now, stepping into heavyweight, and then Evander Holyfield had time to transition and time to put the weight. He went away, didn't he, and bulked up. I don't know what meat he was eating.
When you say he bulked up, he was only like when he fought Riddick Bowe, he was only 205 pounds.
Right, okay.
That much. You know, I was 200 pounds. I was 210 pounds when I fought Derek Chisora. He was 5 pounds lighter than I was when I fought Chisora.
Anyway, I said I'm going to give the fans. I said I'm going to give the fans something back here because they're tuning in. They're sticking with us.
Right.
Whether you think we're waffling or not, you know, we're talking sense. We know our stuff. The Haymaker and the Cobra here live on Instagram, doing our thing, baby. I'm just going to read some of the comments that have been sent in beforehand, and then we're going to scroll down this page here because people write in thinking, I want to get a little shout out. So let's give some of the fans a bit of a shout out. People that have gone and took the time to write in on the Insta story. First of all, I've got this bit of paper, man. I'm trying to read it because it's very small. Right. Remember when you sold out Wembley? We don't need to know about that.
How many people was there, Carl?
Yeah, we definitely did.
Was it 75,000?
I think Mr. Hayes having a bit of a push and pull. Does a prime? Yeah, we've had that one. Who's the best fighter of all time? And why is his name Carl Froch? Yeah, I like the sound of that. when you beat Macreleni, that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. Enzo Macreleni. I was in Spain when I watched that fight, and it was too quick. It was hard for me to get Sky out in Spain, and I had it tuned in. I was sat there with my jug of sangria, waiting for a nice 8-10 round, and it was gone. The fight was over. Anyway, when you beat Macreleni, he was best of seen since Tyson for finishing a fight early. Okay, so he's giving you a bit of credit there, saying that you was the best finisher. And to be fair, you was a good finisher. Like myself, you see your man hurt, you taste the blood, whatever you say, you got the instinct to get them out of there because you know anything can happen in the next round. You could get cut, you could get injured, and you don't need that. The Cobra takes Chisora's best shots and KOs him with the pinky finger. Yeah, I doubt that. I'm gonna have to proofread these before I read them out first. Why is David Haye such a big-headed? There's no need for that, is there? There's just no need for that. I'm not gonna give the shout-outs to any names that start abusing the fans, abusing the fighters.
Don't give the haters the oxygen.
So, do you feel that this is the right time for Derek Chisora to fight Usyk at heavyweight? Because Usyk, I think what he means by that, and this is Scott.
I think it's the perfect Scott. What I wouldn't want is for Usyk to fight someone like a Carlos Takam, someone who's like a bridge between Chad Witherspoon and Derek Chisora. I wouldn't want him to realise, bloody hell, I can't believe how much weight you put on me. Good thing I want him to figure it out in round 6 or 7 that he's got it all wrong. That the sparring partners he brought in weren't the right sparring partners. The amount of punishment he put himself in sparring wasn't adequate to be conditioned for the fight he's going to find himself in. I think this is the perfect time. It's been a perfect storm. Stars, moon, all aligning on the right night on Saturday night. I'm watching Usyk downstairs walking around. He's got an air of confidence like I've never seen. You know what I see? I see the confidence that I used to have when I was the undisputed champ, when I was walking around thinking I'm number one, the Ring Magazine belt, lineal champ, all that crap.
Listen, you're very excited and you're full of energy, which I can feel, and it excites me. I'm looking forward to Saturday for this fight. I really am.
Usyk is downstairs walking around, and I can feel his confidence, and he just doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know what it's like to be in a heavyweight.
Chad Smith says that Usyk is too skillful, but if Derek Chisora catches Usyk, it could be lights out. Do you think that Usyk's lights could be switched off? Do you think he could be knocked out by a heavyweight blow from Chisora? Or do you think he'll take the shot?
I think he'll take the shot. I think he's young, he's fresh. He hasn't got that many miles on the clock. He's a very, very experienced guy. He's been hit with big shots. Gasayev is a massive puncher. He caught him flush multiple times. So for me, Derek Chisora is going to need to hit him with multiple shots. One shot might stun him, might buckle his legs a bit. But Derek's going to then need to start working the body, working the back of the head, working the kidneys, roughing him up inside. Get used to
King's Amber is saying it's a mistake that Usyk's turned heavyweight. He's gone up to heavyweight. He's saying it's a mistake. It could be the end of him. He might not be ready for this heavyweight division. He's a top cruiserweight. He's done everything as an amateur, but
the reason why only two men in the history of the boxing have ever won cruiserweight titles and heavyweight titles, myself and Holyfield. We both had something that I'm unsure that Usyk has, and that's one punch concussive knockout power. He hasn't shown me it yet. He may have it. He may have saved it for his heavyweight campaign. But at cruiserweight, his world title fights, rarely did he clean people out in one shot. If you look at my fights with Mormek, took him out. Macronelli took him out. That's how I did my unification fights. That's all my world title fights went. Usyk as a skill star, he's a slickster, uses angles, uses speed, works beautiful.
Going back to you, STE Broadly has asked, who's the best you have faced and who's the hardest hitter? So that question's to both of us. Who's the best you faced as a fighter? Do you think, in your opinion, who's the best you faced? And who's hit you the hardest or the hardest hitter?
The hardest hit I've taken was from a guy called Lalenga Mock. And I think it was in one of my early fights.
You was a light heavyweight then?
But yeah, 7 fight. I was a cruiserweight. I was only 13 stone 7 or 13 stone 8. I was very small. And this little guy from the Congo.
So you was cruiser in that fight against Lalenga Mock? I thought you did you know what? You was light heavyweight amateur, then you stepped up before, after the World Championships, and then you stepped in.
The cruiserweight limit used to be 13 stone 7. And this fight was at 13 stone 7. It went up 10 pounds to 14 stone 4. Right before my fight against Carl Thompson. But when I fought this guy, Lengo, he was a light heavyweight. He actually fought a super middleweight a few times. So he was a really small guy. But he hit me with a double impact.
Yeah, I waited for him to move up.
Yeah, he was a proper handful. I remember saying, you remember mentioning to you about fighting him? I'm like, not about, it reminded me of that Charles. It's like a giant Charles Adamu.
Yeah.
No one needs that in their life. They really don't need that.
Adonis Stevenson was at super middleweight. Then he stepped up to light heavyweight, and that wasn't bad news for me. Him stepping up to light heavyweight because he could bang a bit. It was Tony Bellew who found out that he could bang as well because he came unstuck. I mean, it was a weight drain Bellew, but still he was on the end of some vicious shots. So I've gone through a few on these papers I printed out. The reason I'm struggling to read these because it's printed them out so small, and I think with my age now, my eyes are going a little bit. I've got to hold the paper like
you don't need glasses yet, do you?
5 miles away.
I thought you had eyes like a hawk.
So let's have a look. I do have Hawkeye when I'm playing tennis because I need them with my older brother. The Renovator joined us, by the way.
We got to get you in with Cassius. We got to get you a match with Cassius.
No. That's a mismatch. By my own admission, I've got no chance. I've seen him play. I've seen your son play tennis. I play with an 11-year-old, David Lloyd. And when you go and you think, I can beat this kid, and then you realise after about 4 serves that you've got no chance. I can play tennis, right, at a club level, but when you're playing these professional children that play full time as kids, it's different. It's a different game. It's not even the same sport.
He does 4 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day. He goes to the tennis academy. So
so there you go. It won't be long before Rocco's beating me at golf.
You any good at table tennis?
We play table tennis all the time. Me and my older brother in my man shed. So it's very similar to. I know it's table tennis.
He's good at table tennis as well.
I can imagine he is because it's very similar. I play tennis and table tennis quite a lot. Me and my older brother have riots in the man cave at the back of my garden. Right, I'm going to look down some of these comments now on the list of going before we wrap up. We've discussed Usyk, Chisora. We didn't talk about the rest of the card because we're only focusing on the main event. I think we can summarise.
Sky Sports box office.
That's right, live on Sky Sports box office this Saturday. You can catch me on.
What else is there to do? What else is there to do on Saturday night? You're not allowed to go to your friend's house. It's illegal. You're not allowed to go trick or treating. You can't go to the cinema. You can't go to a pub. You can't go to a bar. It leaves like the options are slim. But don't worry about it. We got you a good night of entertainment, culminating in Derek Chisora's Mission Impossible against the Wiz, the pound for pound.
Listen, if you love boxing, you've got to watch this. If you're not a big boxing fan, this is still a fight for everybody else because this is a tasty dust up because Usyk is one of the best fighters to ever lace a glove up, and Chisora is a more than capable heavyweight against someone who's just stepping up to the heavyweight division, and this could be an upset because if Usyk gets beat, it's a massive upset. But I'll be over the moon because our Dale boy, Derek Chisora, is one of us, you know. And he's got a big following now in Britain. People are behind him, and people are writing him off. And when I say any kind of honest negativity towards Derek, it's not negativity in terms of being negative. I'm just being honest. I think Usyk's probably going to be too good for him. You know, that's if I was going to be pushed off a cliff and I had to guess right, I would say, yeah, Usyk beats him somehow, probably points, maybe late stoppage, but Usyk probably wins. But deep down, you'd be thinking, if Chisora lands one of them shots at any time in that 12-round fight, you know this fight could go either way. You really do. But the smart money, I'm saying, is on Alexander Usyk. I think it has to be. Totally see your argument. So we've ripped the arse out of that fight. We've discussed the ins and outs, the trainers, the tactics. You didn't let me speak for about 10 minutes. But I've read a couple of the pre-quotes, the questions that have been sent in, but I'm now going to go down the list. I'm going to scroll down. So anybody watching now that's still with us, there's a few there still out there. Let's have a look.
Strange. Dave Allen's got a fight who's on the undercard against a guy called Lovejoy, who's 20-0, which is interesting. 6'7". The guy,
19 fights, 19 wins by way of the big knockout, the big KO.
It's an impressive record. No names stand out to me that I recognise. But
listen,
about Wilder. Look at Wilder's early career, similar opposition, but he turned out to be a hell of a fighter.
I think the opposition on Lovejoy's record is exceptionally poor. Let's be totally honest about that. But Dave Allen's still got to do a job against somebody who's not been beaten. So it's certainly one I'm going to be watching with interest.
It's another interesting one, another heavyweight dust up where one shot. Look what happened with Dylan White the other night. Just because you're winning on points or you're up, you've got someone down. The heavyweight division, anything can happen. That's why I believe it's the most exciting division on the planet because rarely do you get someone getting battered, and then just pull away one shot. Look at Derek Chisora against Takam. Look at Alexander Povetkin and Dylan White. One shot is all it took, and it changed the whole outcome of the fight. People are getting excited about this heavyweight extravaganza. So I'm eating at the moment with anticipation.
You're still going.
For the first bell.
You're still going. If there was an off button, I would have pressed it by now. Just to silence for a minute. I promised the fans we're going to go through some of these comments. Right, I'm going to start reading the comments now. I'm only going to read the sensible ones. Carl, come back and smash Groves up. Right, that's already been done. We don't need to be doing that, Graham. How would you have beaten Calzaghe, Carl? Right, how would I have beaten Calzaghe? I think I would have had to knock him out if that fight would have gone the distance with Joe Calzaghe. I've got no bones about saying I would have probably lost on points. Calzaghe, fast hands, high work rate, super fit. But I thought Robin Reed did him. I've seen him hit the deck a few times off two old men as well. And I just think that I'd have had too much for him. I think I'd have caught him, but I wouldn't have been surprised if I'd have lost on points at the time. When he vacated his belt and I fought Pascal for the world title, I fought an absolute monster in Jean Pascal. Look what he went on to achieve. He beat Chad Dawson at light heavyweight. And, he beat the man who beat the man. He's just great. I think he's still going now, Pascal. I think he's world champion. So you're asking me if I could beat Calzaghe. Of course I think I could beat Calzaghe. Where does Derek go after winning this fight? So I think we've said that, he's going to be mandatory for the WBO. So maybe he gets a shot at Anthony Joshua, depending on what happens with AJ and Fury. What round would Derek win? Someone wants to lump a bet on what round? What round would you think Derek would win? If you had to guess a round for Derek to win, would you say it's got to be early, or would you say it's got to be late?
I'd say round 8. I'd say round 8. Usyk gets stopped. Either his corner throws in the towel, referee stops it, or yeah.
So you think a stoppage can be forced by Chisora?
Yeah.
You can for that. Not just a knockout. You don't think that Chisora can knock him out at any point in any round?
I think he can do, but if you ask me if I had to put a bet down on it,